Welcome back to Yankee Chronicle. I'm your host, Abby Peel. We had a chance to meet up with members of the committee entrusted to come up with a recommendation for a new police facility here in New London. Tell us where you are, folks.
Thanks so much, Abby. I'm joined here today by Lieutenant David Keith from the New London Police Department, who's also a member of the Police Facilities Advisory Committee, and Bruce Parsons, who is a member of the Police Facilities Advisory Committee. And we are here today to tell you a little bit about the work that we have done for the better part of the last year and what you can expect at town meeting. So the New London Police Department has been in its current location of Whipple Hall in Bucher, in the Bucher building, for a little over 100 years. And it's really served the department well for the majority of the past century. In around 1970, when the fire department was moving from Pleasant Street to its current Main Street location, there was a comment made that once the fire department moves over to Main Street, the town should really look at addressing the needs of the police department. And that was really it for several decades, up until about 2014, when the conversation was brought up again. There was a major renovation project happening at Whipple Hall in the Bucher building, and the topic again was raised to see if the police department, dispatch, and the recreation department still fit that current space. And that's really the narrative that we've been hearing for the past 11 years or so. In 2018, a study was done by the Harriman Group on the current facility, and the end result and recommendation from that study was, hey, the police department, it's probably time for them to move into a different space. And then during the pandemic, a subcommittee of the Building and Facilities Committee was pulled together to look at potential locations based off of the Harriman report. What that committee realized was, hey, we haven't actually looked to see if we could retrofit the Bucher building and make this space work. And so they hired another consultant to do an additional study on the Bucher building itself. And what came from that was, yes, you could make it work, but there are going to be some concessions made. You're not going to be able to hit every single mark that you are looking for the police station.
So some of the issues that we experience at our building at 25 Siemens Road is that we actually share a driveway with our neighbor, and that can create some logistical issues. I've experienced, my officers have experienced, when trying to pull out onto Siemens Road based off the numerous line of sight issues, almost getting into accidents multiple times. So when somebody comes into our main lobby and, oh geez, they have a warrant for their arrest, we need to act on it. So then we would place that subject in handcuffs, walk them down the sidewalk on Siemens Road and around the building into our front parking lot, and then down towards our booking area. And it doesn't give that person the dignity that everyone deserves to walk them down Siemens Road in handcuffs. It's not appropriate. So currently another deficiency we have at our police department is parking. We don't have enough parking spaces. We don't have enough secured parking spaces for our personal vehicles, for our police cruisers. Also, when there's an event at Whipple Hall or close by on Main Street, our parking lot gets used. When there's inclement weather, the cruisers need to be running. So the cruiser or cruisers, however many are being used that day, sit outside and they are constantly running. Also, our Sally Port is used for storage. We currently have a sign trailer in there. We have tools, we have tires, and it is hazardous to an officer to pull in there, take somebody out of a cruiser that's under arrest, and then walk them down to the booking room door, and a lot can go wrong in a short amount of time. Also, we have no on-site storage for vehicles that are currently being held as evidence. Also in our building, we have critical infrastructure located in the same room. We have radios for our dispatch center and other very important electronics in the same room as our sprinkler riser. For the past 2 years, our sewer system has actually clogged a total of 11 documented times. When this happens, sewage actually seeps into our locker rooms and our downstairs bathrooms and usually floods the entire room. Our locker rooms can only accommodate one person at a time. The dispatch center recently had to be expanded to take over space from the rec department because, well, technology is advancing. Our dispatch center needs to advance with the times. So we were able to acquire a new software which requires more screens, more space. The lot size as it sits, we can't expand into the town green anymore, because I've heard it before. Well, why don't you guys just go on to the town green? We can't. it's not allowed.
That led us to the 2024 town meeting, where there was a warrant article to purchase the residential house next door to the police station and combine the properties to make a larger police station. That warrant did not pass, and overwhelmingly our taxpayers and residents said, hey, we are in support of something, but come back to us with a plan, a real location that is viable, and cost. What is this going to cost our taxpayers? And we've spent really the better part of the last year working with Colliers Engineering Consultants and LaValle Brenzinger Engineers. And what they did was work with Chief Cobb to do a needs assessment of our current police department.
I started, and I agreed to come on this committee, totally believing that Bucher could be renovated and it could be used for many years to come. It wasn't too much time into listening to the chief, listening to David, touring the building, and being part of the whole process did I realize, no, the Bucher building is no longer really a good choice for a police department.
We had 4 buckets that we were looking at. One of remodeling the existing space as it is. Could we make that work? 2 would be to tear down the existing structure but rebuild within the same footprint. 3 would be to purchase a building elsewhere in town and retrofit that for the police department. And 4 would be to buy a plot of land and build a structure from the ground up. Ultimately, our recommendation is, and what you guys will learn, is to purchase a plot of land further down on Siemens Road that the Cleveland and Garvey families had brought to the town's attention to say, we recognize this need for the town. We are willing to sell this plot of land. And after some initial work by Colliers and LaValle Brenzinger, it led our committee to make the recommendation to purchase that land and build a new police station. Warrant Article 3 proposes a $955,000 appropriation to purchase the land on Siemens Road, which is about 3/10 of a mile from the current location of the police station. This will allow the committee to continue the planning work. This does not commit us to the full $10.4 million that is allocated for this project. But what it does allow us to do is continue the work. It also allows us to continue the work of looking at needs versus wants, which will ultimately play into the size of the building. All that work still needs to be done. We're at a really good place. We've gotten to a good place. But we want to continue that work and make sure that this is going to be not only viable for our police force, but also that it makes sense for our taxpayers as well.
So some of the benefits of a new location at the proposed Garvey site on Siemens Road, I'm really excited about. It would, one thing is the building would be set back from the road so that it's not going to sit directly on Siemens Road. There would be a public way that would come off of Siemens Road, and we would have our own driveway off of that. So it would give it a much better visual appearance from where it sits. The building in general, I feel it's going to create a much better workflow for your officers as far as evidence handling, processing prisoners, processing that person who comes in for an arrest. This building would allow for cruisers to not sit outside all day idling when the officer's back at the station and stay warm, because there's a lot of critical components in those cars that need to be kept warm and in working condition. This building would provide for a better footprint for security, for having a better perimeter around the building, for keeping vehicles and equipment safe. Even though the new location is only 3/10 of a mile down the street from where we currently are, I would feel that it's still in a great spot. It's still very accessible through the many points of town.
This possibility for a new building and this location, to me, really, it speaks wonders to the town of New London. As David said, the location is great. It is a much more private place, but yet public place for a police station.
So warrant Article 3 that you'll see at town meeting proposes $955,000. And this is to purchase the land on Siemens Road and continue the essential planning work. And this does not commit us to the full $10.4 million, but it is a component of that $10.4 million.
The second phase of this project would then be to create a new design team or create a design team. somebody that's going to take the sketches, the drawings, the concepts that have been talked about, discussed, the wish list, the want list, the need list, and really turn it into a building that works for the police department as well as fits within the $10.4 million budget.
All right, so what's next? We are hosting 2 community forums, and we'd love to have you all come to one or both of them. The first one is Wednesday, February 26th at 6 p.m. in Whipple Hall. And the second will be Saturday, March 8th at 10 a.m. at the Kearsarge Professional Development Building. And then town meeting is Wednesday, March 12th, and that will also be in the same location, but in the gymnasium. So we hope to see everybody there. Thank you all for your continued questions. We have folks asking really great questions of us and what the plans are. Please keep asking those questions. You can also visit the town's website under boards and committees for meeting materials and answers to previously submitted community questions. You'll find information on the work that this committee has done for the past year and also the work of prior committees. If you have any additional questions that you'd like to submit prior to the community forums, please email us at police.project@newlondon.nh.gov.
Thanks for all the time, effort, and something to consider at this year's town meeting. When we come back, we'll head over to Sunapee for a visit to one of the many maple sugar operations in our area. Please don't touch that clicker while we introduce you to another one of our great underwriters.
This program is supported by Main Street Bookends of Warner. For books, toys, games, cards, gifts, and a gallery of local art. Main Street Bookends of Warner.